I can't say this enough, but this is completely wasted potential at every single point. Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Coming Distractions brought to you by the Nerdpocalypse podcast. I'm your host, Jay. Solo again. This time I'm here to review the newly released Netflix-produced film, Bright, starring Will Smith and Joel Edgerton. So this was directed by David Ayer, who's famous for a lot of East LA cop movies, like End of Watch, and of course the infamous Suicide Squad for DC. So I saw the trailer for this movie. I thought, it's a cool like genre fantasy film. It's been described by Will Smith as Training Day meets Lord of the Rings, which might be the dumbest statement I've ever heard, but okay, sure, I'm a giant nerd, so I'll watch it. The general premise of this film is Will Smith is this cop who is partnered up with Joel Edgerton, who is an orc. Okay. And the idea is that in this sort of future fantasy LA, orcs, elves, fairies, magic wands, all of that, dragons, all that, all exist in the normal world, and it is not crazy. However, people are supposed to be, humans are really kind of biased against orcs, and then there's also elves who are really very rich and well-to-do, and it's supposed to be, if you're maybe, you lived under a rock and you don't really get symbolism, the elves are supposed to be like rich white people, and the orcs are supposed to be, they're supposed to be black or Latino, and they're in the poorer parts, and they dress and talk in these very stereotypical ways that you would assume that black people and Latinos are often stereotyped. It's an interesting concept, right? To try to show this important message through genre films. And that doesn't bother me. I mean, obviously, like the X-Men are an allegory for, gay rights or the civil rights movement when it was originally created. And then in the movies in the 2000s, it was an allegory for the gay rights movement. So that I don't have a problem with, and that's totally fine. So I like the subversive idea of Bright. However, it is unbelievably poorly executed. I just finished watching it. And, a lot of the reviews I've seen around were, this is the worst film of the year. It's awful. This is, a movie you can absolutely skip. Look, 2 out of the 3 of those statements are absolutely true. It is a movie you can skip. It is awful, but it's not the worst movie of the year. At least not in my opinion. So the general premise here is that Will Smith is a cop. He's got a partner who's an orc. Okay, we talked about that. But what happens is in a situation in the very beginning, you find out that while they were out and about, Will Smith's character Ward had gotten shot by an orc who was like robbing a store or something. And his partner, Joel Edgerton, didn't back him up quick enough, so he ended up getting shot. The movie kind of opens with that as a flashback, and then we start the story as Will Smith's character is coming back on the force after recovering from being shot. Now, every other human hates this orc cop because his name is Jakoby, because one, Will Smith got shot on his watch. He was supposed to be looking out for him, but also just because he's the first orc cop, right? It'd be like, if there was the first black cop in the city, every white person would be really upset by it. We get it. It's not that fucking clever. Anyway, so the two of them, when they're on a mission or on assignment or what have you, they happen to go into this house. They find a magic wand and this elfish woman, and then things go left from there as all these people, including cops, are trying to get it from them because it's obviously a powerful weapon. Okay, the MacGuffin aside and the sci-fi stuff aside, that is fine-ish. Like, it's okay. Like, again, the writer of this is Max Landis, who did Chronicle, And so he's a good genre guy when it comes to ideas. However, when it comes to the execution of actually writing these films, that is where he falls apart. And so the bigger issue I have with the movie isn't the genre stuff. That is the nerd stuff, and that's cool. And it kind of works to an extent, enough to keep you watching if that's what you're into. Oh, you want to see magic wands and like some decent-ish action stuff with like Latino homeboys attacking them in a strip club. Okay, whatever, that's fine. However, the real issue to me and the real crux of my review and my issues with the film are this idea of trying to do this subversive talk about race and equality. They should have just left that out because it fails for one major reason. Max Landis, the writer, is the son of John Landis, who is a very famous Hollywood producer. Totally fine, whatever, nepotism or not. He says he didn't make it in Hollywood because of his dad. Okay, sure, but whatever. That being said, Max Landis, you are a white guy who has lived nothing but a privileged life. You know nothing about poverty. You know nothing about surviving in this country as a minority. Does that mean you can't write these type of roles? No, but it means in this case, you really, really suck at it and you really shouldn't have attempted it. It is clear that you think that racism comes from, it's all these overt, kick me signs on the back of an orc because that's supposed to like really make us understand it. If you understood what racism actually is and what it's like to be treated piss poorly in this country, you would realize that the racism that black people and Latino folks deal with on a day-to-day basis and other minorities, I don't want to dismiss those, but specifically black and Latino folks, because that's clearly who you're addressing with your orc character, you would understand that 95% of the racism that we deal with is the undercover shit. It's the glances, it's the looks, it's the assumptions, the small assumptions that build into these microaggressions that build into what we deal with every day. Not everything is these overt, like almost like 1960s view of racism. It's pathetic, and it shows that you have a very, very, like, you don't understand the minutia of race relations in this country, and you really shouldn't have done it in a genre film if you didn't get it. Because, frankly, you need to go read up, you need to understand, maybe talk to some black people, talk to some Latino folks. I understand, I'm pretty sure David Ayer is Latino, but maybe talk to some other people and try to get a real understanding of what the fuck you're dealing with. Because it's one thing to get it wrong, it's another thing to get it wrong where you're trying to be subversive and clever. It's not clever. It's really piss poorly done. So to me, that's the thing about the movie that pisses me off. And that to me is the reason why people should be pissed, because you took a very serious topic and you played with it when you were completely unequipped to play with it. You are very much a rookie in that world. You don't know what you're talking about. Again, you are the son of a rich Hollywood producer and you're a white man in America. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And frankly, to me, it's offensive. So next time, stick to Chronicle, stick to movies like that. Don't delve into this world. It was pathetically done, and you have no idea what you're doing. So yeah, you got the wizards and all that other stuff, right? But really the crux of what you were trying to do was to make this interesting story. You failed. You failed miserably at it. Will Smith, I didn't think his performance was all that great. This is a pathetic attempt at doing a Bad Boys 3 via Orcs and Wizards. It doesn't work. Joel Edgerton, I thought he was okay. Again, I didn't think his performance was all that great. I thought it was rather stiff, probably because the writing is poor. I wonder where that came from. If I had to give a positive to it, some of the action beats were okay. They weren't bad. And I thought the orc makeup and stuff was good. I actually thought it looked cool. The world in it of itself, I found to be interesting. However, the performances and the execution of the dialogue and things like that were pathetic. So for me, the score, this is a 1 out of 5. I really wish I hadn't watched it. And I did not know, and I cannot stress this enough, I did not know Max Landis wrote this. If I had known that, I would not have watched this. This is the worst movie he's ever worked on. And I'm tired of seeing him fail upward. This is terrible, and nobody should see this movie. Absolute 1 out of 5. Do not waste your time even folding laundry to watch this. This is garbage. Nice way to round out 2017. Appreciate it.